I'm Allie,
I'm Rachel.
and we are the Shunned Sisters podcast.
Everything that we say here is our opinions and for entertainment purposes only. And today we are discussing the first episode of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
So
And
excited.
the religion that we were raised in, which is Jehovah's Witnesses, is very, very, very similar to Mormonism or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is
Later
a
day
mouthful.
Saints.
We wanted to discuss it from like the perspective of that aspect because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with the religion that like bleeds into the episode. The intro was really interesting because did it remind you of baptism?
It did. That was the one thing I wrote down was we have to discuss the intro because you go in the water, that's how you atone for your sins, you're washed clean, and whoever in production, they have to know like the religion. They have to have some type of background to have thought of that kind of intro. It's insane.
And it's so sacrilegious to do like a sexy baptism. It's very edgy because when we got baptized, we had to be super modest. We had to wear full t-shirts that covered up our bathing suits so that no one, would see.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of bathing suit you want to wear because you're gonna have to throw a huge ass t-shirt on it regardless, and nobody's gonna see any bit of you really, except for when they dunk you and then the shirt does come up a bit, so it's like a little like
It does get wet. Like it is a wet t-shirt. So like, I mean, if people want to be aroused by baptism, then they're going to be.
maybe that's where they started the wet t-shirt contest. Maybe that's really where it originated, okay? That's just my opinion, guys. I don't know that for fact.
Well, I remember, okay, do you remember the picture? So in Jehovah's Witnesses, this is off on a little mini tangent, but we had this book
Okay.
of Bible stories, and there's like it's illustrated, and there's a picture of Jesus coming out of the baptism, and he's like ripped. Do you remember? Like
I
they made Jesus
vaguely
as hot as possible.
that I remember that part. They made him look so ripped, so hot. Like
And his like the little thing he had on his butt. Yeah, the whatever
the
that.
V line. The V line. It's my favorite thing
And
in a
I
man.
was, yeah, it's so funny that we both, still remember it. So it's like you guys really didn't do that good of a job of desexualizing baptism. So I love that the intro just leaned into that because it started out on a really good note. And then the first scene, they started talking about Halloween, which they were like, oh, it's a misconception that Mormons actually do get to celebrate Halloween. And the reason why people misconceive that is because Jehovah's Witnesses do not get to celebrate Halloween.
They were talking about horror movies and scary movies, and the majority of them, other than Whitney, she loves gory stuff. The rest of the girls were like, no, we don't like the exorcism
Yeah.
type movies or anything like that. That coincides 100% with what we were taught to believe and what we were allowed to watch and not allowed to watch. Any type of movies that were too much on exorcism or demons or anything like that. We had some family friends growing
majorly.
up that watched that kind of stuff, but us personally, we were not allowed.
Yeah, and like if somebody did watch it, it would be against the rules. And like if somebody found out, the elders would at least talk to them about it. They would get a lecture for sure.
By the way, guys, elders is the Jehovah's Witnesses
Yeah.
governing body inside of each like church. We call it the Kingdom Hall. Everyone else calls it a church. And that is where, like, growing up in New Hampshire, all white male, all older, all very judgmental, and you have to kind of like atone for your sins and you have to go to them. If something goes wrong, you have to answer to them.
I definitely was jealous watching them do it a little bit because I've still never even gone trick-or-treating. And I'm waiting to have a kid because at this point it would be really weird. If
Just
I
go
went
up to houses
trick-or-treating.
and like,
So,
sorry, I didn't get the
yeah.
opportunity when I was a kid. Please, can I?
I noticed was Demi. She was talking in the intro about how we're moving the needle on the patriarchy, which I don't know, to me, I do not think that you are the one moving the needle on the patriarchy. I think you are, but a lot of your actions have some big misogynistic overtones.
Yeah.
However, Michaela had like a little section after that, and she talked about how she is the breadwinner in her family, which that actually is a pretty big deal in
Mhm.
Mormon culture and Jehovah's Witness culture. Like, it was heavily encouraged that the moms were supposed to be stay-at-home moms and the wives were supposed to be stay-at-home wives and doing stuff for the church. It was
Yeah.
frowned upon if you worked full time. I remember there was one point where when I got married and I was working full time and people were very judgmental about it and gave me
Yeah.
shit for working full time.
It's very much so the man should be the one that has the job and that makes the money and provides that security for his family. And I do like that they're trying to break that stigma. I think
Yeah.
that's super important. But don't come at me in the comments, people. But I think that their small little group is not going to break the stigma of all Latter day Saints. Like, yes, bringing attention to it is great, but I think that 7 girls and the way they're going about it, like it's a reality TV. You're not gonna change the whole trajectory of Mormon life over your 7 people in your one reality TV.
I agree with that, but then on one end, also, these religions really care so much about public perception. If there is enough public pushback against the way that things are done in the religion from the public, that possibly could change things a little bit. But I know after season 1, the Mormon church put out a public statement basically that the Mormon wives were not like real Mormons, which
Yeah.
they're not behaving in the way that they're supposed to. Which
No,
brings
and
me to Whitney, though. Whitney does try to be, she really triggers me. I honestly do not have a positive thing to say about her. She reminds me so much of like the Jehovah's Witness pick-me girls that we grew up with.
okay,
Whitney
yeah.
views herself as the most pious of the bunch
What's
and
pious?
like godly, the most godly
Oh,
of the
okay.
bunch. Like, Whitney had a quote in the intro. She said, "I think everyone has sticks up their butts and like has the fame gone to their heads," which is classic projection. She's the one with a stick up her butt. She's pretty like uptight. I think the fame to an extent has gone to her head. Like, she was interviewed on Taylor and Taylor Lautner's podcast, The Squeeze, after season 1. Listen to that whole episode, and she was completely unapologetic.
Mm.
She had no remorse. And I think when Michaela said, uh, I think she's a little bit of a narcissist, I completely agree. I think she has a lot of cluster B personality disorder traits. I don't know if it's narcissism or another cluster B. We could do a deep dive if people want and go through the criteria. So you like Whitney, okay?
Well, we're so new into season 2, and you and I haven't, like, we're not binging like some people are because
Yeah.
we're really wanting to, like, go through and watch it a couple times, like, once for fun, second, take our notes, see what we're seeing. I do think she's there for the clout. She's there for the clout. She's there to get the bag. Same as Miranda. She's admitted that on interviews, podcasts. She says, yeah, why would I come and do season 2 if I wasn't getting paid? I'm not doing this for free. I'm not talking about all the crappy things that I went through without getting it. I think that the one who has the best like grass is Michaela. And I think you agree. She's been out for 10 years. She is the most level-headed one. Layla, Macy, Whitney, Demi, Jen, and Taylor, I believe, are all the ones that are still in. Everyone else has left.
So Michaela's out. I knew that. Who else? Jesse's out.
Jesse left
and
recently.
Demi is out.
She was acting like she was still in, and I was so confused. But maybe she lives the double life. She's half in, half out. That's very common.
There's the reason why, like, it's not easy to say black or white, who, unless they say I am fully out of this. It's a similar thing with Jehovah's Witnesses. There's actually a bunch of acronyms that are used, which is PME is physically and mentally in. So Whitney, clearly she's a PME, she's physically in, she's mentally in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would say, so Michaela is a POMO, physically out, mentally out. That's what we are.
Yes.
And then I think Taylor is probably a PMQ, physically and mentally questioning.
Yes, she's definitely
But she could
questioning.
be a PMO. She could be a PMO, which is physically and mentally out.
That was me my whole time.
Right. Yeah, you were, and I went through stages of I alternated between PME, PMO, and it's probably hard to understand if you haven't been in that world. Like, why would you be physically in it, but mentally out of it? And it's because you want to talk to your family. You want to talk to your friends.
You had
And
no
you don't want to
choice.
die at Armageddon. So you're like, I don't know, maybe.
When you're younger, you can't make your own decision up until a certain point.
Yeah,
Unless,
exactly.
God forbid, somebody emancipates themselves. But I wasn't in the position where I was like, yeah, I can do this life on my own, because not
Yeah.
only are my parents in, all my friends that I know are in, my sister is still in, which we'll get into that of when we both left,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of differences there. There is a lot of time that we went where we didn't really talk for a period of time because I was out and she was still in. So it's just a very interesting thing to discuss.
At the beginning of this episode, Miranda was denying doing anything other than kissing, which she later confessed, like in later episodes, which I shouldn't say as a spoiler. All right, well,
Well,
but
but
everybody knows
she
who
said it in
followed this from the
podcasts.
beginning. I started following Taylor Franklin Paul when the like swinger scandal broke. Before
Mhm.
the TV show, that's when I started following. I was obsessed with it because it just reminded me of so much stuff from growing up. And I had recently left a religion, so it was really resonating with me at that time. I watched Taylor Frankie Paul's video of her confession of the swinging, and then I watched Chase and
Insane.
Miranda, which Chase is Miranda's ex. I
Right.
watched their video of them denying everything, blaming it on Taylor, making Taylor sound so crazy, like adamantly saying that they did nothing. And then obviously pictures came out online of Taylor and Miranda, which are so hot. Honestly, they have so much chemistry, and I feel like Taylor and Miranda just need to be together. That's my dream. If that happened, it would be like a dream come true for me.
I don't know if they ever would, because there's so much history there now that they're just trying to focus on rebuilding their friendship. But I definitely can see Taylor dating a woman. Like screw the
Miranda
men.
too.
Yeah,
I could see Miranda with short hair, Carhartts, baggy jeans. I
could, but
just
still like makeup and still girly. But yes, maybe the haircut and the outfit be a little more.
masculine edge to her.
Yeah, she does. She definitely seems like
Yeah.
she would be the more dominant one in Taylor and her's relationship.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this for years since I saw the pictures of them together. I'm like, oh, they just
That's
need to be
wild.
together because they had more chemistry with each other than either one of them had with their former husbands. Just a fact. The next scene was her finding out that Dakota lied for two
Oh,
years.
yeah, I watched back the last episode of season one to kind of just give me a refresh. I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
everybody does that. Give you a refresher going into the new season
Yeah.
so we can pick right back up. And Macy's a good friend. Like, that is what a good friend
Oh yeah.
does. Hey, I got this confession. I'm gonna find out and get down to the bottom. And if Taylor wants to know and wants to talk to her on her own, she can. It's so crazy seeing how Dakota acted in the last episode of season one, so defiant, so like, I can't believe that they're still talking about this, and this is just drama, and this is XYZ. But look how much worse it is for you now. Point
There's a
blank.
lot of Dakota stands. He came across really emotionally abusive in season 1. And honestly, the second he came on the screen in the Moment interview on the first episode, I was like, I would bet serious money that that man is high right now. He has a history of opiate abuse, but even if he didn't have that history, I would be saying that based on, I am not stigmatizing. I have worked with individuals with that disorder, and when he came on the screen, he had pinpoint pupils. He had that really like kind of sickly pallor to his face. He
Yeah.
had all the physical signs.
It's so interesting that you bring that up because I did see some chatter in the comments on certain things
Yeah.
he's posted, and people are also alluding to that. And I noticed that he doesn't look like he looks off. He looks like he's on, but I never want to claim to know.
People, when they're using opiates, look a specific way, and he looks that way. I'm not saying that he is for sure, obviously. This is just
Yeah, we don't
my
know.
opinion. My opinion is that I think in a few years or 6 months, it might come out that yeah, sad. And obviously, the opiate crisis is a huge issue in this country still. However, it doesn't excuse the way that he treats Taylor.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Taylor was worried that this is her karma, which is
Yeah, I
so
feel
sad
for
and
her.
so relatable. Have you ever felt like that?
Yeah, there was definitely
Yeah.
times where when I was going through a lot of emotional changes and there was a lot of instability at our house, I definitely feel like it was my fault and that the choices I made, this was my karma. This was, what I deserved. I deserved to be in this really crappy place. And
Yeah.
it's not the truth. And it took a lot of time. It
Right.
took going to therapy. And that's why I'm so grateful that a lot of these Mormon wives are in therapy because it is so important to have a third party.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of them are not also associated with the
That's
church
the issue.
and
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
issue that happened in the 8 passengers case where they were using Mormon therapists.
Yeah, you really need a complete neutral person,
Yeah.
100%.
Because
Otherwise,
Jody
you're
was
still going to get
literally a
influenced.
therapist. Jody from the 8 passenger situation was a Mormon therapist.
Yeah, for anybody, Ruby Frankie, that's the more
Yeah.
relatable because I'm like, what the hell?
8 passengers was
What the
their
hell?
original, because I followed it back then because I was like, what is this wacko family doing? Yeah. It reminded me of families from growing up, the stuff that they were doing. But I also related when Taylor was saying, this is my karma, and crying because these type of religions, they teach you that anything that bad that happens to you later on is the consequences of your sin. So basically, you're directly to blame for everything that happens in your life, and that can get really dark and causes some serious mental health issues. I still am trying to recover from that way of thinking because still to this day, when something bad happens in my life, I instantly go to, what did I do to cause this?
Yeah, it's always Judgment Day, not only
Yeah.
within the church, but even when you leave. You still have this thought process of judging yourself, almost like sometimes judging other people. And I think with seeing the first season, you really see it in that first, like, let's say 3 to 5 minutes of episode 1, season 2. These girls are so judgmental. They are. And we dealt with the
Yeah.
same thing. It's just kind of like it's reality. Like they don't know
It's
how
just
to
how it
be.
is.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
know how to be any other way because in the church, that's what everyone is doing, and everyone has to answer for their miscomings. And so you really see it as Miranda shows up in that first couple minutes, then Whitney comes, and they're very shut off. They're very kind of just sitting
So
back.
with Whitney, I get it.
In the same instance, you see the girls like, I hi, like da da da, like certain ones like trying to kind of be friendly, but there's a difference in not liking somebody and being cordial and not liking somebody
Yeah.
and being fake and being friendly. And I think to me, that's what I saw.
Yeah, I think also the judgmentalness, it's a self-protection mechanism because you're constantly being scrutinized. As women in the church, you're the lowest on the totem pole. Once a boy gets baptized, he's above you. I mean, even before he's already above you. Way that you can get any sort of like approval or status or love as a woman in these type of structures is to shove another woman down below you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like somebody's always going to be picking at you. And it's a natural instinct to be like, wait, they did something worse to try to protect yourself. So I definitely have compassion for it, even
Yeah,
though it's not great. And it is misogyny and the patriarchy. That's why they're doing it. And
100%.
on that note, Taylor said when she was having the conversation with Jenna, she said how Dakota was doing good girl, bad girl. How he was
Mm.
treating Taylor like the bad girl. And that brought back any memories for you, but it reminded me of how common that is in these type of religions. There would be the boys that they're like, "Oh, I'll go have sex with a worldly girl, but then marry a girl that's in the religion."
Yeah.
Or if I do something sexual with a girl in the religion, now she's a bad girl. Now she's lower status. Very
100%.
misogynistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the ranking of women is
Yeah.
diabolical. Like, let's not even get me started because I am in my man hating era, so I could
Yeah.
go off about it.
I know this is probably going to be a controversial take. And at the end of season one, I was totally done with Zach. I was like, wow, this guy seems like an abusive narcissist. That was what I thought. And poor Jen, this is horrible. She needs to divorce him. After episode one, I believe Zach. I might
Tell
just be
me.
an idiot falling for the narcissist, but I believe him. Their conversation in episode one, I have personal feelings on the matter.
Mhm.
Reminded me so much of conversations in my own marriage. My husband and I got married young when we were both Jehovah's Witnesses. We started dating when we were 18 and we got married at 21 and we were in that religion and we were both raised in the religion. Now, he never said or did the things to me that Zach did in season one, so that is like very extreme.
Mhm.
However, dynamics in their relationship that they were discussing, we definitely experienced to some degree, and I think probably all people experience being married in a religion like that. There was a few quotes where Jen said, "It's expected for me to be submissive to my husband, but moving forward, we have to be equals." And I realized that I was blaming myself for years, thinking I was the issue and too sensitive. That's 100% how it is because you're told all the time in the religion that you're the weaker vessel. That's literally terms they use. And because how we talked about how women are lower than, and you are supposed to be submissive to your husband. Whenever there's like a conflict, you're more expected to like basically listen to whatever they think or say.
Like, my opinion of him
Yeah.
is still
Yeah.
dislike. There's a lot of qualities about him that I still see are reigning true in season two. Do I think that he is trying to work on himself and be better? Yes. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the caveat, I think it's because of how he saw himself portrayed. He saw things go so poorly and saw his actions. And I think it was a little bit of a wake up call. But I also believe that
True.
he
But
he's wanting to change.
Whitney saw her actions and she thought she did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but she also is like trying to be an actor.
Yeah.
She is a totally different person, and I know you don't
Yeah.
really like her and you don't have a great opinion of
Yeah.
her. I think he's putting on a bit of a facade for the second season. And I think we're going to start seeing in the newer episodes,
Yeah.
we're going to see that he is still the same.
And we're trying to stay as unspoiled as possible for the recaps. So we might
Yeah.
get to episode 5 and I might be like, oh, I got tricked by a narcissist again. It would not be the first, second, it would be the 100th time I've gotten tricked by a narcissist. So that could definitely happen. The line that really got to me is when he said, I realized that I put pressure on myself and Jen to be a certain way, and that both of us need to be more authentic to ourselves. That to me just felt like such a green flag. Maybe someone told him to say that. I don't know. If he came up with that on his own, that's super insightful because before we left the religion, the number one source of the conflict that we would have was because both of us were putting pressure on each other to act a certain way, to be in good standing in the religion so that we wouldn't get shunned. And we noticed a huge improvement in our relationship when we left. There's obviously still tons of things you have to deal with in life. It's not like it fixes everything, but
Correct.
allowing each other to be the authentic version of ourselves. And
Yeah.
he's doing ketamine with her.
I think he's trying to
Yeah,
compromise. He's trying to put himself into the mold that Jen wants him to be in, and that maybe society wants him to be it, because you have so many pressures and opinions from everybody in the world, all these fans that have
yeah,
watched season 1 and are really like tearing you to shreds. I want to
yeah.
be I want to be team Zach and be like, yes, he's putting in the work and he's doing that. But I think she's scared of him. I think she is so scared of him. Like, there's this look on her face I see when she's looking at him, and it's just not adding up to me. The math ain't mathin'.
Yeah, you're probably right. He probably is someone who's got a cluster B personality disorder and is doing this for the cameras and the public. The more likely scenario is that they're going to continue to behave badly. It's rare for them to have a come to Jesus moment. It's honestly a major personality flaw at this rate in life where I still keep looking for, yeah, that positive improvement. And you're right, it's probably not real.
It's so tough because it's not black and white. Like we've said before,
Yeah.
we don't
Yeah,
know
people aren't
his.
all bad or all good.
No, and we don't know what he's been through with his family. And there's so much information that we don't know about him. We don't know about him and Jen's
True.
relationship. But when I see it from an outsider, see it from being in a very culty religion,
Yeah.
I see her as wants to take on these roles of being like progressive Mormon, and I dance on my
She's
counter, and
not.
she's not. There's so
Yeah.
much that we don't know. My perspective is he's doing it because he looks so bad on season 1 that he has to now make himself look better. He is trying to appease his wife, not only for her,
Probably.
but for the cameras, for the kids. Like, I think
For
there's
the
so
money, probably
many.
too.
He quit medical school.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah. Maybe that's him making a sacrifice. He says it's a sacrifice so that she can do the show. But again, that could just be him trying to look good. I definitely need to see more to know if he's changed or not. The other thing though is that change is not linear. When you leave a religion like this, you're drawn back into those old patterns of behavior all the time. It
your whole
takes a
life.
long time. I'm 4.5 years out. Obviously, I'm still triggered and drawn back into old thinking all the time. How many years out are you?
11, maybe a little more.
Yeah, it still
Into
affects you.
Yeah, especially we talk
Yeah.
about the shame and the
Yeah.
that's a really big thing. There's so much to go into with Miranda coming into season 2, and seeing her on talk on other podcasts and see how she talks about the swinging scandal, it reinstills that the church keeps you in a bubble. You don't talk
Yep.
about things. You don't always talk about things with your friends or your family or anybody. And because
Yeah.
of the shame, because of the
Exactly.
fear. And so I think that, we're going to see her hopefully growing up and being exposed to more of the real world, because that's one of the biggest takeaways for me. You're in such a sheltered life as a Mormon, as a Jehovah's Witness,
Yeah.
there's so many
That's the
very
hardest part.
culty religions out there, and that's the hardest part, is to be exposed to the real world. Oh, like there is soft swinging. Like, it's just because it's called swinging doesn't mean that there's not a version of it that is soft swinging. She's like talking about, oh, I just kissed a few people. No, you didn't. There was more to
Yeah.
the story.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
blindfolded. You were drunk. You don't remember. She was talking about on the Vile
On a
Files.
podcast. Yeah.
No, she was like, I just kissed a few people. It was a night of being blindfolded. It was a drunken blur.
Part of the situation is maybe some repressed homophobia.
Yeah.
It's very common in those religions. I mean, I grew up bisexual in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I didn't even understand that I could be bisexual because it wasn't an option. Well, I do like some guys, so I guess I'm straight, but I was always very interested in certain women, and so this was also their chance. They're married, so now they have freedom, because in these religions, you do have more freedom once you're married. You get
Mm-hmm.
more free pass. If your husband's okay with it, you can get away with it. Oh, now my husband thinks it's hot if I kiss a girl. Well, now I can get away with kissing a girl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just my perspective.
I think that's really good perspective, because obviously I didn't know growing up that you felt that way.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You're not supposed to like other women or like other men, but it's just, we're all different. It's all part of us. There's nothing wrong with it, but it wasn't something that you could feel comfortable to discuss until now later in life, and be able to look back and like, oh yeah, I did think they're cute and this makes me feel a different type of way.
I don't want to like speculate on Taylor or Miranda's sexuality. Like, I know I was joking earlier about them like getting together, but that's just
Yeah.
like my secret wish. They literally have admitted that they have chemistry, but I just wonder if that might even be another element of shame, that they kissed somebody of the same sex, because in that religion, that shame is baked into you from day one.
Yeah, and I think that's why I felt like Miranda was very shifty in the
Yeah,
way that she was answering her
yeah.
questions, which makes sense. She's still kind of going through dealing with,
She still has family.
yeah, and they're still in. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
so not only does she have family that is still very much in, but to openly talk about it when it's this such like negative, oh, you're a bad girl that you did that. I get that she's very like uncertain about answering it. Also, I think PR training, like, she clearly has a great PR person because she knows how to answer questions. One thing I wanted to mention before I forget, we can call it whatever we want. We can call it soft swinging, we can call it experimenting, but it makes perfect sense in the religion that they are
Oh,
in the religion that
100%.
we grew up in.
Yeah.
It's a group horny session. Of course they're going to happen. You're all young, and then you mix alcohol into it.
Well, you don't get to have a chance to have other sexual partners. Like, I've heard
No.
Taylor on podcast interviews where she was like, well, I actually was with other people when I was younger. She already had other experiences, but the other couples in the group hadn't. So this was
Yeah,
their
you
way
can
of trying
attest
to
to
have
that.
those normal experiences that they missed out on. Like, yeah, if I had had like the opportunity to be a part of one of those groups when I was a witness, I don't think I would have wanted to make out with anyone's husbands. But
No.
the funny thing is that there have been swinging situations in our religion. So We're going to use first letters of people's names only because a lot of these people are still in, protect their confidentiality. But
Yes.
we were visiting our friend V, and she was telling us that there was a scandal in one of the local congregations that a
I
bunch of couples were having orgies and swinging. And that
I
happened.
forgot
And I
about that.
remember I thought it was so scandalous, but I was also like low key a little bit like, wonder if I'll ever be invited to something like that. Like I was like horrified and I was like, that's so bad.
Yeah.
But then there was a part of
But
my head where I
also,
was like, so you're telling me it's an option. And then Jehovah's Witnesses have these things that they do called a local needs part. One of the meetings the elders do like maybe once a month. And it's a part that's basically bad stuff, sinful stuff that people in the congregation and local area are doing to try to tell everybody don't do that. And also they refer to it as marking the people. So they'll
yeah,
describe in super detail from the stage what somebody's doing that's sinful. And they don't use the person's name, but they use enough
it's so
descriptors that you know
uncomfortable.
who it is. And they say don't associate with this person and like shame them. It's like the Scarlet Letter. It's a public
Oh,
shaming.
it,
In our congregation, they had to have a local needs part that if you're a married couple, that you shouldn't be hanging out all the time with another married couple because there's instances of swinging, basically, where they're swapping
flip flop.
partners, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is so fucking juicy. Like, only part of the meeting that was actually interesting. And I was like, who is it? Because I actually didn't know who it was and I never found out. And I was so sad. There was a couple that me and Josh hung out with a lot when we were dating, K and A,
Mm-hmm.
and me and A had a lot of chemistry. We were definitely very flirty with each other. It wasn't like a friendship. I had lots of platonic female friends, but it wasn't really like we were friends. We would just hang out and me and her would just kind of flirt the whole time. Um,
So funny.
and cuddle. So,
And who knows what the boys are doing at this time?
well, they would kind of like tease us about it. That's as close as I ever got to anything interesting. So, regrettably, I was never a Jehovah's Witness swinger. Well, actually, no, I'm kind of relieved seeing how
Regrettably.
much drama these people have to go through after the swinging. Like, unless you can monetize your swinging, well, I'm just gonna ignore what you're doing and you're gonna ignore what I'm doing, and now we have mutually assured destruction.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, a hundred
Mutually assured
percent.
destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so I
yes,
kind
yes,
of
because
get
it's like I can't tell on you, can't tell on me, because I'll tell on you. So we're all good here.
we're
Yeah,
in this
totally.
together.
I
We're
forgot about
in
that.
this
Yeah.
together. And that's, I get where Miranda's like, oh, no, we weren't like sleeping with each other's husbands. Like, we were in the beds next to each other. As weird as it might sound to the public, I can understand it. From
Yeah.
our perspective,
Yeah.
I get it. Like, that's something I could have seen had I had, well, I was just about to say, had I had sex before marriage, which I
Yeah.
did, but I didn't lose my virginity until I was out of the church. And
Hmm.
it was later in my years. But when I was in, I was so
Which
boy
is surprising.
crazy.
I thought you had sex when you were like 14 or 15, and I just like covered for you. I wasn't gonna, because I heard like rumors at school about you and a boyfriend, and I was just like, I want you to be safe, but like,
Yeah, there was so
you
many
know.
rumors. There was, we'll unpack that. That will be a two-part
Yeah, that's gonna
episode.
have. I think we do have to just do like a quick also disclaimer that we understand that ethical non-monogamy is a thing,
Oh, yeah.
obviously, but what was happening in Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and in our background was not ethical non-monogamy
No.
because the to do that you have to have mature conversations and boundaries in place, and that's why things went so bad because there's a lack of education, so there's no conversations, there's no boundaries in place, there's no like rules.
Yeah,
It was
that's what
just
I was
like a
gonna
free for all.
say. Yeah, as a
Yeah,
free
because of the
fall, there's
inexperience.
the inexperience, the lack of knowledge, not having
Yeah,
anybody that you can go to talk about it because it is so
exactly.
like what's the word? Like, it's like, woo, like, what's the word I'm looking for? You're so good with my word retrieval
Taboo,
usually.
taboo,
That's
taboo. Yeah,
taboo. See, this is why she helps me out. That it's so
yeah,
taboo to talk about it with anybody. They were young. They didn't know. They were so horny. They didn't have anybody they could talk
yeah,
to about it. Lack of knowledge,
yeah,
lack of real world experience. All of that culminated to
yeah.
them being in these positions where it's like I did crazy shit when I was underage drinking, when I was drinking, getting myself into situations where I'm hanging out with people that aren't the best influence, that don't have the
Yeah.
best moral compass, no matter whether they're in the church or not in the church. It doesn't matter if you're a godly person or you're not.
You're taught if you're in the church and you're in good standing in the church, that means you have good morals. If you're worldly and outside of the church, that means you have bad morals. And
That's
that's
not
not the
reality.
case. There's a lot of dangerous people who are in good standing in the church who have horrible morals, and then there's a lot of people who are worldly who have the best morals. And so
Fantastic.
when you're taught that from day one, it completely messes up your whole concept of what is moral and what is immoral.
Yeah.
You don't, it's really hard to know.
Yeah. And then to try and retrain your brain
Yeah,
afterwards.
I'm still trying to do it. You're
Yeah.
still trying to
I'm
do
still
it.
trying to do it. Yeah. There's still so many
And I've had
things that
friendships
it's
with people who, like, I felt a little weird about stuff they were doing, but I was like, I don't want to be judgmental like I used to be, right, in the religion. So I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to judge anybody for anything they do. And then I found out the hard way, actually, you do have to have moral boundaries for the people you associate with, what they're doing, because there's certain things that are wrong that you don't want in your life.
yeah, and even
It's
though
hard to find the balance.
yeah, and even though you weren't judging those people were judging you for things that you were doing and rumors that they had heard, which is just like
Oh,
insane
yeah.
to me because you were giving them the benefit of the doubt. You weren't judging them. You just were like,
Yeah.
maybe that's something I don't like and maybe I need to distance myself. But then those people are like, oh, these sisters are going to bad movies and doing bad things and hooking up with boys and we're like we're not
Yeah.
even doing that, like you
Which
just
we're gonna
pulled
have to
that
do
out
a
of
whole, yeah,
thin
we're gonna have
air.
to do a whole episode. So
It's
that's a wrap on episode one.
yes,
Hopefully people, I'm just manifesting that people find our channel because I think it's really cathartic and therapeutic for us. And hopefully it will be for some other people. There aren't as many ex-JW YouTube channels with women.
we just wanted to come on here and just
Yeah.
provide a different perspective and give you guys our experiences. We hope that you guys will enjoy this and let us know in the comments, like if you have any specific questions
Yes.
for us, anything you want us to cover. We're going to continue to do recaps throughout the season. They're going to have a season 3 as well. They're already filming for that, which I'm so excited for. So we are going to have so many things to talk about over the next few months.
If anybody has any suggestions or things of other like culty stuff, we'll review. We're also going to do episodes sharing our experience growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. So if people have aspects of that or questions that they want to hear about, we are going to try to do it from more of a lighthearted perspective, not get into the doctrine or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to. We lived it.
I
We
don't
literally lived it.
I already had to read
So
the Bible front to cover. I don't know how many times. I'm like
she
not
did, I didn't.
interested in. Yeah, I'm not, but I'm not interested in like going back to any of that. So
No, I barely even remember
none of
any
that.
scriptures. Like I could barely pull a scripture out of my ass right now. I just
I'm trying to wash them from my brain. Except Jesus said a lot of good stuff. I am a Jesus
we're
fan.
keeping that in. That's so funny.
What? That
Guys, she's a
I
Jesus fan.
I'm not like a some like I'm moderate in my beliefs. I'm not like atheist.
Yeah. And I think that's a good to mention on here that we don't want people to like think, oh, we hate godly people or like We don't associate
Right.
with people that like love Jesus and have strong faith in certain religions. Like, we accept everybody. We're just, this is what we
Yeah.
went through, and that's that.
But the reason I like Jesus is because he honestly acted the opposite of most Christians do, and he taught the
Yeah.
opposite of what most Christians are doing. So if you say you love Jesus, act like Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Preach. And we can end it there. That's a great
Yeah.
one to end on. You can subscribe, like, follow along.
Yeah.
Whoever is watching, have a great day.